Eclipse OpenJ9 community call. Please add your name and affiliation to the meeting agenda, just so we know who's been joining the call. And then I'll pause here for a minute to give people a chance to add anything they want to the agenda or to toss out topics to start the discussion with. If something does come up during the meeting, feel free to tag it to the any other business section at the end of the agenda, and we'll tackle things as we get to the end as well. We don't have a lightning talk scheduled this week, so if you do want to give one, please reach out. We'll get that set up. And then we'll take a look at the recent end user issues that have come in since the last one of these calls. And I see that there's two of them, one looking at issues with shared class cache generation during the Docker image build. A fair bit of discussion there and a follow-up around the release, so that's good to see.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's something that we want to fix for the release. It's also in the milestone plan, although I didn't set it as a blocker.
Is it reproducible? Like, is this a one system issue, or have others been able to produce the same issue?
According to some comments in the OMR issue, there are a number of people hitting the same problem.
Okay, then yeah, it definitely sounds like something we want fixed for this release. Add the blocker tag on that because we do want it fixed for the release.
But I saw Daryl in the minutes, but I don't see him on the call.
No, I'm here. Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Does this have anything to do with you? Do you know anything about this one?
I'll have to read it. I'm not familiar with it. If it's a JIT issue, I can make sure the right people are on it.
Okay, thanks.
And if we look at the other one, there's a crash in the nightly build. Like this has been identified as being related to the new dynamic breadth first. Dimitri, will this affect the 0.26 release?
It might potentially. We will decide today or tomorrow. Do we want to return back default behavior for balance?
Okay. This may affect 0.26, then I will actually tag it to that milestone, just so we make a decision on whether it needs to be fixed there. Is there anything else in this list of user-raised items that needs a discussion now? All right, then we'll jump back to the agenda. Usual reminder around help wanted issues, making sure we're tagging the appropriate good first issue labels on things so that we're surfacing those in places where people looking to get into development can find them. So we'll take a look at our download stats. We see that downloads overall are increasing. So if we jump to the OpenJ9 specific ones, we see a pickup again after the lull over the long weekend, which is not surprising that there's a lull. Again, most of our downloads are coming from 11 8 and starting to get a smaller amount on 16 as well. If we look at the hotspot trends, they're similar, sort of lower number of 16 downloads, reasonable jump in the 11 downloads, and again, 11 is dominating, which makes sense given its LTS nature. Is there anything else we wanted to look at around the downloads here? Okay. And we'll jump back and we'll take a look at our upcoming release, for the 0.26 release. Pete, did I see you announce that the Milestone 2 tags have been created?
Yes, the tags are created, and we can ask Andrew. The builds are started.
Yes, the builds are completed. I'm going through the test results at the moment. Doing JDK 16 first, nearly finished in JDK 16. We had a problem with AIX, so all the test jobs failed due to space issues, so they're rerunning.
Take a quick look at the milestone plan as well. So in here, there's a couple of things related to DDR. We now have the crash and the Docker thing, and still the illegal access error regression. There was some discussion on this last week that I believe the outcome was a PR was being created.
Yeah, I think there is a PR. I know Toby thought we could fix that soon, I think.
I took a quick look at the PR, and it changes the behavior, but I think it does that in all cases, and we need to split that to only do it in sort of half the cases to match the RI's behavior.
Dan, I think Jack has requested people in India to open a OpenJDK bug, which will potentially fix the behavior in both OpenJDK and OpenJ9.
Yeah, I think we want to be prepared for that not to be completed before
The next release.
Before the next release.
So I can pass the message to Jack so that he can prepare the alternative. I think he paused that work so that he was hoping the OpenJDK bug report will resolve all the things. So we'll pass the message to Jack that he should also prepare for the alternative.
Yeah, I think it's a small enough change that it's better to match their behavior now, and then if that changes, we can always update that.
Okay, sounds good.
I think that covers the milestone plan. Is there anything else that we need to discuss out of that milestone plan or the current dates? I did want to ask about the CMake performance regression on JDK 8. Sharon, are you?
Yep, I'm on the call. So I've, am I muted?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So I took over the perf work for that, so I was just getting set up for running the automated profiling. So I've gotten the JDK 8 profiles, and I am in progress of getting the JDK 11 profiles for comparison. So I don't have specific results yet. The previous person had, I think, left, so I've just been transitioning the work over to my side.
Might be worth getting. Do you have profiles for 8 from both before and after the change?
Yes, I have one for a mix and one for a compressed build.
Is there anything just from those that that stands out?
There was one symbol that stood out on mixed. Everything from a quick glance, it didn't seem like there was anything else that really stood out. So that's something that could be looked into.
Okay. All right. Given the time frame, it doesn't sound like this is going to wrap up for the release. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, I think that's accurate.
Okay. We may need to add that to the release notes then. Or anything else that we need to discuss on the 026 release? Then moving down to our general adopt update. Shelley?
Yeah, I think you've covered most of it with thanks, Andrew, for kicking off M2 builds on the weekend and triaging them now. And we'll coordinate this parameter separator change in the test pipelines with a restart of the OpenJ9 Jenkins server. I see it down in the infra update. We also have the final active week of our CAN OSP students happening this week with some nice test contributions coming in from them. And because we're part of the Outreachy program, we now are up to 50 applicants, so we're scrambling to get them all assigned to good first issues. I've closed the application to other new applicants so that we can handle the load that we have from this. Highly recommend if you want new contributors to your project to participate in the Outreachy program. And I guess the only other thing on the Eclipse transition that I think we only have 7 of the 22 main repos that we were going to transition remain to be moved. And a couple of new repos created. One, Adoptium one, which is the replacement for the TSE repo, and an incubator one to allow members to do incubator projects within Adoptium. And the JMC team who was doing work at Adopt OpenJDK also want to move to Adoptium. So a project proposal will get created and that mission will move over to the Eclipse Foundation as well and renamed, rebranded. That's the update.
Okay, thanks, Shelley. Adam, is there anything you want to call out for the infrastructure update?
No, just that we need to restart the Jenkins server if we want to have this plugin deployed. And I've checked a few times, but it's always stuff running, so it's hard to find a window. Pete knows it best, but I can talk to Pete after the call.
Yeah, that probably makes the most sense.
The most likely time to have when Jenkins isn't used is in the evening, after people finish running PR builds and before the nightly builds start. And that
Like
depends
after 4 or 5 kind of thing.
Yeah, and that depends whether there's OMR changes or not, because otherwise then an OMR build would be running.
Yeah.
So there might be something in the afternoon. It really just depends on when the nightly build finishes and what people are doing for PR testing.
And I think the problem with that is the Eclipse guys are in Europe, so.
The mornings are almost always running, still finishing the nightly builds.
We can get in after the nightly finishes before PR start kicking off. And if there's no OMR build in the morning, then we might have a window there.
even if we need to relaunch some PR builds, that's a reasonable thing as long as we make it clear which PR builds may be affected by it.
I thought there was a way to schedule it so that the builds that we're running could finish, but nothing new could be started.
Well, generally when you restart Jenkins, the pipeline job should come back, but I'm not sure the way Eclipse has it set up. Seems like sometimes things just get completely wiped. We can ask them about it, I guess.
So it'd be nice to let the nightly build finish. Like right now, there's a PR test maybe just finishing, but there's another one running. Could be tried right now.
Okay.
At worst, we're going to lose some PR testing.
Okay. Thanks.
Bad Need, is there an update on the method handles work?
Dan, I think we have reduced the number of internal failures from 185 to 12. And I think PRs are still, some PRs are in work in progress, and they will fix more issues. And I think the work on fixing failures continues. And the JIT team is, I think, working on performance. And this sums up my update. Back to you, Dan.
Do we have any, have we been stable enough that we can run any performance experiments? I'm wondering if there's sort of an early estimate on where performance measures today.
I think the JIT team is going through a transition as well at this point. A new member is going to take over the JIT work, and I'm not sure if the JIT team has run any performance work yet. So I will have to touch base with the JIT members and see what's the state on performance benchmarking. And I can give an update next week.
Yeah, we don't have formal numbers. We have some rough ideas of areas that we want to improve, and we're just sort of starting off on those, implementing some of those features to get us there. But yeah, as Babneet said, we have to we're probably in a position where we could formalize some of the runs that we're doing to get actual concrete numbers as a starting point.
Okay, it just would be good to know sort of the early comparison of where we're at and how we measure up against our implementation, our old implementation.
Yep, agreed.
Yep.
Devin, is there an update on CMake?
Yeah, so the ZOS build is now compiling, but it's hitting a crash in the JIT somewhere. So I'm digging into that. Probably just some simple option or something I missed in the JIT stuff, because it is the build files are laid out a bit differently than the rest of the VM, so it's trickier to track those down. But otherwise, it's looking good, and I think it will be up in the next few days.
That's great to hear. Marius, is there an update on the Helm and operator discussions?
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. So not much of an update this time. So next step is to look into the operators. We already have the Helm chart. And I know that Keith offered his help with operators, so I'll make sure to invite him to the discussion. That's about it.
Thanks, Marius. I see the next MicroJet meeting is tagged for
tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
That's what not tomorrow, because now it's Tuesday, Thursday, so 2 days from.
For an update on moving to the Eclipse OpenJ9 org?
Yeah, build OpenJ9 has moved. And I think we're just waiting on the release to finish to request the other repos to be moved. Is that correct, Pete?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
After we finish the release, then we can, I'm thinking we can move website and docs,
Mm-hmm.
make sure those go smoothly, and then do the rest.
Yeah, good.
That's good. OpenJ9 utils could probably be moved now even. Don't know of
I
any.
guess we can just make a request in that same Eclipse bug issue. I don't think they've closed it because I've left the message to say we will let them know when we're ready to move the other stuff. So anyone can probably make that request.
So there's a lot of work going on in OpenJ9 utils. I'll just check with Marius to make sure not a problem to move it now.
It's okay. I mean, even if we get delayed a little bit, it shouldn't be. But
yeah, we haven't
nothing
noticed
urgent in that.
Yeah, and we haven't noticed any issues when we've moved now a dozen repos. GitHub does a good redirect, so even if you have a fork of the old location, when you push and create pull requests, it automatically handles the redirect for you. So we haven't encountered any problems with the adopt moves. But yeah, okay, I can add a note to that thing for OpenJ9 utils, and then we'll keep marching through the list.
That would be a good indication if we're going to have problems with other repos.
Yeah, it's a good litmus test.
Good. And Pete, you had a comment on here about disk usage.
Yeah, we did that last time. I think Adam was going to increase it to 40 days. Did that happen?
Sorry, looking for my unmute. Yes, it happened.
So if I look at the disk space report, we're still at 77%. So it seems like it didn't have any effect on our disk usage, really.
Last update was Wednesday, which means it's either falling over horribly or we're under 75% now. So it seems like we had a big reduction at the same time as we increased.
Right, that's what we were expecting because of the mixed refs we're reducing the disk usage.
Let me just check what the actual build says. %. So we're just at the threshold. We don't report until it gets to over 75.
So we could consider keeping even more builds.
We could. Because we did that last Wednesday, so it's been 7 days. So we should have leveled off. So I can increase it again 5 more days.
Sure, sounds good.
So going from 40 to 45. Now the other thing is this. There's another parameter of how many builds we keep. So it might be limited by that. I can follow up after the call with you.
Yeah, so if we've got it set at 30 builds.
Then going to 40 might not have done anything.
Yeah, so maybe we need to increase that as well first before we think about increasing it anymore.
Okay, so it's set to days to keep at 40 and 30. 40 for OSU. So, okay. Anyway, I'll follow up with you after the call.
Yeah, thanks.
Right. Any other business that we need to cover in the last 2 minutes we have today? All right, doesn't sound like it. So thank you, everybody, and we'll meet again on April 13th.
Thanks.